Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. This week, we're traveling to summer attractions across Appalachia. Like a bus that sits on a rock at the West Virginia confluence of the New and Gauley rivers.
1954 when he put it up here. Figure over 50 years old, 50 years on that rock. It's older than me,
Also, one person's weedy nuisance is another's golden treasure. So says a North Carolina fiber artist.
This is too much fun, this going out and just getting stuff that people think is weeds, stew it up in the pot, put your yarn in there, make the colors.
And we spill the tea on a classic roadside attraction.
I think that it's just pretty cool that we're the first and only people ever to get married in front of the world's largest teapot.
You'll hear these stories and more this week inside Appalachia. Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. This week, we're revisiting some of our favorite summer stories of the past. My favorite summer activity is hanging out on the river. Spend enough time on any river, and you'll see a lot of unexpected things. Like at the confluence of the New and Gauley rivers in West Virginia, where a school bus sits out on a rock in the middle of the water. In 2005, Anna Sale was a reporter for West Virginia Public Broadcasting. She's since gone on to become the host of the popular podcast Death, Sex, and Money. But back then, she was curious about that old bus that sits in the river near the town of Gauley Bridge. Anna traveled by boat to learn more about the man behind it.
A bus in the middle of a river might be controversial in some communities, but Randy Keiss says it's a sacred spot in Gauley Bridge.
There's people all over this country stops there, and takes pictures of it. Everybody's wondering how in the world you got it out here, how do you get the thing up on that rock, It's a landmark, It's a landmark.
Rumors swirl in Fayette County about just how the bus landed there. Some say a band of college kids pulled it up on the rocks in the 1960s. Others claim the bus was washed out to the middle of the river during a flood.
Sit back down here side of it. There you go.
The truth is that it was the work of one man, Bruiser Cole, who was in search of the perfect fishing camp. And as fabled as his camp has become, Cole's given it a simple name.
Bus on a rock.
Cole has lived all of his 81 years in Gauley Bridge. His home is in a nearby hollow along Scrabble Creek. But it's his fishing camp that has been his labor of love for 51 years. He claimed the island for himself in 1954 by hoisting a bus up onto a rock outcropping in the middle of the New River. Cole bought the bus and had it barged 9 miles downriver. Then he pulled it up onto the rocks. To hear him tell it, it was an easy process.
I rode it down the river 9 miles. And when I come over here, I had up over here the boat, and he caught it over there and picked it up for me, tied it. Then I took a old barge up there. It sat over for a month or two. And I went up there above the port, that old flat rock. And that's where I loaded this old bus up. I bought this bus off of Otis Morton up there. This is no Greyhound bus.
And it also made perfect sense.
Well, I thought I'd make a camp out of it. That's what I got for me.
And then to make a camp, how did you decide to make it with a bus?
Well, it's quick and easy after you get over here. It's already built.
He took the wheels off the bus, rested it on the rocks, and built a foundation around it. He added the front porch using wood from an old C&O depot years later. The reason he likes his camp is simple.
Get away from people.
Why do you want to get away from people?
You know how people are.
The rivers surrounding Gauley Bridge provide the perfect buffer for seclusion.
If you ain't got a boat, you can't get across the river. Unless you swim.
He points out that there are no roads except the railroad across the river from town. Everything used to build the fishing camps on his side of the river was boated across. His boat is an oak wood john boat that he made with his own hands.
I just learned to make them just from old everybody around, worked on stuff. A bunch of them made John boats, they didn't make them like these. You have to fit everything on these when you make them. They're good boats.
He and his half-brother Tom build them, a skill passed on by their father. Instead of John boats, some in Gauley Bridge call them coal boats.
Oh, it takes you 3 or 4 days to paint it and build it and everything.
So you've made boats for yourself, and then sometimes you've sold them?
No, I never did sell them. I may help people make some.
To make a living, he did a variety of things. Mined coal, hauled coal, and served as deputy sheriff in Fayette County. He even drove a school bus. Randy Keiss rode on Cole's bus as a boy.
I'd go to get on the first day at school, He'd say, guys, I got a assigned seat for you right here behind me. I know him pretty well. And I'd sit there all year. I did it 4 years over there on that hill, and I was right behind him. He said, I want to see your smiling face. The old bruiser, he's something else.
Cole has spent all of his life swimming, fishing, or sitting on the porch watching the river float by. But as with most things, he doesn't wax poetic about the river.
All rivers are just important to communities. See, it's Gauley here, and New River forms Kanawha here.
But the history of Gauley Bridge is all about the river. Even the name of the town suggests this, linking the name of the river with a human invention. Cole says this goes back to the area's Native American past.
Yeah, they say all the time the old Indians called New River the River of Death. One thing about the river, you got to respect it.
Back when our people came to this part of the world, the rivers were the interstate highways.
When the NPR senior correspondent, Noah Adams, followed the New River north for his book, Far Appalachia, it elicited memories of the region's pioneer past.
I tried to think of what it would have been like for my forebears to come there, and how much more courageous they were, actually, than any of us could be now. It's just an entirely different existence. Just to go down that river for the first time, going west and not knowing what you would come up against, opportunities and the dangers, it's a pretty intimidating thing.
Like Adam's family, Cole's family came to the mountains looking for a place to call their own.
Let's face it, these are places where our people wanted to come to. The Scots-Irish, my folks, came to Philadelphia, and they didn't even stop for lunch. They got off the boat and they said, let's find the mountains, and they wanted to be away from those cities.
Oh, this was all Virginia when my people come in here.
They watched as the Civil War came to Gauley Bridge and saw the strategic importance of the river. In 1861, the town's namesake was burned and destroyed as Confederates retreated. Randy Keiss knows the story well as a native.
Yeah, it used to be a covered bridge over here. They used to, I don't know if it was the Union or what, used to shoot off this side here and blow it out, About every time they would build it back, they'd blow it out. Gauley Bridge is full of history, really. And people fired cannonballs, there's cannonballs all in that river there.
Now, Cole's camp has become a part of Gauley Bridge's history.
1954 when he put it up here. Figure over 50 years old, 50 years on that rock. It's older than me,
From his perch on the porch, Cole has watched the river mark the passage of time. He's seen the town of Gauley Bridge change.
Well, it's built up some all along, over a period of years. And they took put this highway and everything down through here, the bridge in over here. It's been incorporated for 20-some years too.
And the river's flow has changed under his watch after the Summersville Dam was completed in 1966.
Well, I've got my hand on the gospel plow, and I wouldn't take nothing for my journey now.
And in the 1980s, Craigsville native Bernard Coffindaffer approached Cole about putting a set of his famous 3 crosses on a nearby rock.
Oh, he come and asked me about it, and I told him it didn't belong to me.
Cole helped Coffindaffer pull up a 550-pound steel base for each cross.
I think that this that you see here will last 100 years.
And the camp itself is made from the relics of history.
This is all we used to.
And you figured out how to do it all yourself?
Well, I managed.
The seats on the front porch are an old booth from a Kentucky Fried Chicken. A shed from an old Methodist churchyard sits beside the island's outhouse. A satellite dish shields a wood-burning heater from the wind. And when something comes floating down the river, Cole will grab it if it's useful.
Pull it up on the bank, tear it up and use it. That's better than going on down the river. It is usable. That's what's wrong with the stuff now. People throws everything away.
That's not to say the camp doesn't have amenities. Cole strung an electrical line to the bus himself in 1957, which powers the camp's electric oven and 2 refrigerators. There's also running water that's pumped right out of the river.
Yeah, I don't throw nothing in the river. Not even cigarette butt. That's what you're drinking. Everything goes in the river. Always on mines and timber stuff, everything goes in the drinking water. That's what you're drinking. Drinking your own filth already.
But some high-ranking officials once claimed that Cole's camp itself was filth. In the mid-1970s, A. James Manchin was on a statewide mission to clean up West Virginia through the REAP program.
REAP comes to Kanawha Falls to rebuke, to rebel, because we are repulsed with these rustic relics of repugnancy.
Manchin set his sights on getting Cole's bus out of the middle of the river. But Cole had another idea.
James all right. I know he did good. But he didn't cause no problem. Just thought he was.
Did he want you to take the bus off the rock?
No, he didn't say a whole lot about it. Charlie Ken was the mayor over here at the time, and Charlie talked to him. My wife, she called Arch Moore there, and never heard no more about it.
Whoa!
Danny Kincaid, a friend of Cole's, thinks there's more to the story.
Your bruiser could tell you a whole lot more about it than I could. He knows a lot, but he won't tell you everything.
In fact, the town legend goes that when Manchin was making noise about the camp, Cole reminded him that he didn't get the nickname Bruiser by going to Sunday school.
Rough when he wants to be, but he'll tell you the truth. He's a good person. I like it. Think the world of him.
Cole may be mellowing with age. He stays busy and has plans for a list of improvements to the camp. But he knows he won't be around to care for it forever. He secured a deed for the Rock Island in 2004 and says he has it willed to someone. Kincaid says whoever gets the camp after Cole is gone will be the luckiest person on the river.
It's just the best camp here on the river, by far the best. Good location, good fishing around it. You can see everything.
Like the pioneers before him, Cole struck out to make a home where no one had before. He did it all by the sweat of his own brow and is now reaping the benefits. How much time do you think you spent working on this place?
Lot.
Has it been worth it?
Oh, I guess.
There's no place like it in the world.
You got that right.
That story originally aired in 2005 on a West Virginia Public Broadcasting TV show called Outlook. Bruiser Cole passed away in 2012, but his bus on a rock is still standing. roadside attractions can be a memorable part of any summer trip. Just stopping and checking out Dinosaur Kingdom 2 in Virginia or Ruby Falls in Tennessee can go a long way towards breaking up the monotony of getting from point A to point B. In 2023, Inside Appalachia's then associate producer Xander Alloy took a trip to Chester, West Virginia to learn the story behind a classic roadside attraction there, a souvenir stand known as the world's largest teapot.
If you drive west across the very tip of West Virginia's northern panhandle, right before Route 30 crosses the river into Ohio, you'll see what looks like a 14-foot tall red and white teapot.
You know, it's really whimsical and set out in this green grassy area, and it's just, you know, it's really cute.
That's Lissa Ducharme. She and her friend Maria DeLuca are from California, and were taking a road trip with another friend who lives in Pennsylvania. Once they found out about the landmark, DeLuca said, they added it to their itinerary.
Well, we had some time, and then we saw that there was the world's largest teapot, so of course we had to stop. And honestly, we're not disappointed.
Painted in large red letters across the wood and metal building are the words, "World's Largest Teapot." Underneath are 5 windows labeled souvenirs, postcards, candy, pop, and hot dogs. On a stone pillar off to the side sits another, smaller, metal cream pitcher marked with the year 1938.
We're very proud of it. It's our great icon for the city. A lot of people come from all over the United States to see the teapot and are just fascinated.
That's Susan Heineman. She's the event coordinator for the city of Chester and caretaker of the teapot. As a child, Heineman spent a lot of time near the attraction.
I was totally fascinated by it, especially being a little kid, and here's this huge teapot right next door to my grandma's. I love to sit on the front steps of my grandparents' house and watch the people come and go over to teapot. And when I could buy money off my grandparents or my dad, I would go over and get my penny candy from it. Just loved the teapot.
The teapot is a symbol of an area well known for its ceramics industry. Just down the road in Newell is the headquarters of the iconic Fiesta Tableware Company. Across the river, East Liverpool, Ohio once manufactured half of all dinnerware produced in the U.S. William Devon, also known as Babe, owned a pottery outlet on West Virginia State Route 2, which passes through Chester. The story goes that back in 1938, he bought a giant barrel-shaped advertisement for Hires root beer from Pennsylvania and had it hauled to the front of his store. It was cut in half, covered in sheet metal, and the handle, spout, and lid were added. The teapot served as a snack bar and souvenir stand, and to attract passing motorists to Devon's store. The smaller cream pitcher sat on the roof of the store itself. Throughout the decades, the store changed hands more than once, but apart from a couple of years during World War II, the teapot stayed open. Heineman worked there while she was in junior high in the 1960s.
They had a artware building in the back, and I would go in there and dust the glassware. I got a hot dog and a root beer, or I got $1.
But, she remembers, they sold more than just teacups to tourists.
Underneath, the counters outside were like nude figurines and stuff, and a lot of the truck drivers would stop by there. They would buy cigarettes out of the teapot, and they would go buy one of these nude figurines to take wherever they were going. And of course, being young, I wasn't allowed in there. But being a teenager, I peeked.
By the early 1980s, though, the teapot's time was over. In 1984, C&P Telephone purchased the land and tore down the pottery outlet. The teapot remained but sat vacant. 3 years later, the phone company agreed to donate the teapot to the city. It moved from place to place around town over the next several years. In 1990, it finally found its new home, a piece of land near the highway donated by the state. After a few false starts, the city of Chester and a group of volunteers completed its first full restoration later that year. But it wouldn't be until the early 2010s that Heineman, along with the Parks Board, would develop a regular plan of maintenance and fundraising for the teapot. Today, the teapot's a well-known symbol of the area. It appears in work by artists from around the state and is featured as a location in the video game Fallout 76. Some people even choose to celebrate major life events there.
I think that it's just pretty cool that we're the first and only people ever to get married in front of the world's largest teapot.
I spoke with Abby Mont and her husband Zach Murray over the phone. They're both originally from East Liverpool, Ohio, but currently live in Chester. After a mix-up with their paperwork in Ohio, they had to scramble to get a marriage license over the border. They got one, but that meant the ceremony had to be performed in West Virginia.
It was kind of just a joke. Someone just said, you should go get married at the teapot, and then we were just like, yeah, let's do it.
About 10 of us, our closest friends and family, we all drove down at about 11 o'clock at night, and we had to have everybody turn on their high beam so that we could see. We walked down the aisle, said our vows, and got married in front of the teapot.
They say they plan to make the teapot a part of their future, too.
We'll probably make it a tradition to visit the teapot on our big anniversaries, whether we live around here or somewhere else.
You're welcome to walk up and take a look at the teapot any day you want. But to experience it in its full glory, you need to come on the second Saturday of August for Teapot Day. It's the one day of the year when it opens back up as a snack bar and sells unique souvenirs like t-shirts and Fiesta wear ornaments. All that said, here's where I have to drop a bit of a bombshell. Since 2010, Chester, West Virginia has in fact not been the home of the world's largest teapot. That distinction belongs to the Maitan Tea Museum in Guizhou Province in China, which stands over 240 feet tall. While the record may be gone, what remains is the history the teapot embodies. Even though it's moved down the road a ways, it still stands as a monument to the town around it and a reminder of the region's industrial legacy.
The city of Chester's proud to have the teapot here, and everything else has been tore down, historical. We still have our teapot.
For Inside Appalachia, I'm Xander Alloy.
That story is part of our Folkways reporting project, which covers arts and culture in our region. You can find more Folkways stories at our website, wvpublic.org. Coming up, a summer camp for kids with traumatic brain injuries. You're Inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams.
Support for Inside Appalachia is provided by the Charleston, West Virginia Convention and Visitors Bureau. Spend your summer in Charleston, where scenic trails and on-the-water adventure meet vibrant arts, culture, and local flavor in the capital city. Begin your adventure at charlestonwv.com.
Every year, millions of kids head off to summer camp. It can be a life-changing experience. Camp Cranium in central Pennsylvania is a camp for children with traumatic brain injuries. Every June, the week-long camp provides community, encourages independence, and builds kids' confidence. WVIA's Lydia McFarland reports from the campground in Columbia County.
A sense of peace settles over the acres of Camp Victory, the home to Camp Cranium for a week every June. Birds chirp as campers and counselors laugh and talk. Some craft, while others learn how to shoot a bow and arrow, and the group's most daring tackle the zip line. A similar air of peace settles over Tony Sadowski, who has been Camp Cranium's executive director since 2024, and his son Brian has been a camper for the past decade.
We go from that scary, traumatic moment as parents where you're in the emergency room not knowing what version of your son's going to wake up. And we're very lucky to be able to be here and enjoy this week with him.
Brian is now a high school graduate, heading to Elizabethtown College in the fall to study occupational therapy.
After years of working with lots of therapists and them being a special part of his life, he said for years he might want to go into pediatric OT and help other kids in the same way that they helped him. So that's what he's going to study, and we're really proud.
Campers range in age from 8 to 21. It costs $500 per camper with what Sadowski calls camperships for those with financial needs. Camp activities include archery, swimming, rock climbing, ziplining, and more. A short golf cart ride from the archery field, campers tackle a rock wall located in a clearing in the woods. Jonathan Blankenship climbed the wall. He's 15 years old and a first-time camper. His traumatic brain injury occurred after a car accident. His doctors gave him 2 years to live. It's been 3, and now he's forging new friendships and making it to the top of a rock wall.
I'm healing. It makes me feel good.
Another camper is pulled out of his wheelchair by a hoist as counselors and peers shout their encouragement. Drew Meyer is the director of operations.
I haven't seen anything yet that they haven't been able to do with time and with the drive and with the creativity. They will find a way to get it done.
He loves to watch the campers come out of their shells as the week progresses.
They're kids, they're teenagers, and they can be this way here. And this is probably one of the biggest things that I hear from them is I can be me.
Brianna Engelman first came to camp in 2018. Her traumatic brain injury occurred when she was 5. Doctors had to disconnect the half of her brain that was causing dangerous seizures.
Think of it like I'm like a stroke victim that didn't have a stroke.
Research from the National Institutes of Health found that traumatic brain injury often leads to social isolation and loneliness. Brianna says at first it was odd being around so many people just like her, but she loves the community she's built the past few years there.
Oh, it's like a home to me. I found people that don't judge me like the Wheelwood people do. I found a family.
Sadowski says parents sending their child to Camp Cranium is like a form of self-care.
I always tell parents it's really important for you to catch your breath because otherwise you're just in trauma mode and you need that breather too.
Sadowski encourages parents to seriously consider Camp Cranium, even if they're nervous.
What is important about camp is we see the gradual progress that all these kids are making. And what feels small to some people, like being able to tie your shoe on your own again, something like that, is incredibly important and huge for that child.
This year, Camp Cranium welcomed 25 campers. In rural Columbia County, I'm Lydia McFarland.
A lot of people spend their summers fighting weeds, whether in gardens or yards. Nobody loves them. Well, almost nobody. Dee Dee Stiles is passionate about weeds. Using common roadside plants, Stiles makes natural dyes for fabrics and teaches others to do the same. And it's part of a mission much bigger than brightly colored yarn. In 2024, Folkways reporter Rebecca Williams brought us this story from Swannanoa, North Carolina.
It's 8:30 on a rainy Sunday morning, and I'm getting ready to run across 2 lanes of highway traffic.
Okay, go.
All right. I'm here with Dee Dee Stiles. She's a 77-year-old traditional artist who makes natural fabric dyes from local plants. And today, Dee Dee and I are harvesting sumac berries that grow on the hilly highway median.
I might climb on my hands and knees.
We scramble up the hill. Dee Dee leads me to a cluster of sumac trees. I drive by this spot a lot, sometimes 2 or more times a day. But I think this is the first time I've actually noticed what's growing here. We clip some of the dark red berries.
These are real pretty ones. They don't have any black. Look at that. Hot dog.
And drop them into plastic bags. Dee Dee says the traffic is picking up.
All right, we better get back across the street.
So we slide down the hill, wait for a gap between passing cars, and run.
There we go. Woohoo!
Dee Dee has lived most of her life in the Swannanoa Valley of North Carolina. I met her years ago, volunteering at a local nonprofit. But this is the first time I've gone with her to collect dye weeds. Making natural dyes wasn't Dee Dee's first love. When she was a little girl, she used to tag along when her grandmother gave weaving demonstrations. But it wasn't the weaving that fascinated her. She liked to watch the women at their spinning wheels, turning wool into yarn.
I would be watching the lady spin, and I'd see what she did, and then I'd come home, and I'd try to do that on my spinning wheel.
Then one day, she saw someone demonstrating how to make natural dyes out of plants that grew locally. Weeds, basically. And that was it.
I said, so what for spinning? This is too much fun, this going out and just getting stuff that people think is weeds, stew it up in the pot, put your yarn in there, make the colors.
She's been doing it ever since. Outside her house in Swannanoa, Dee Dee is preparing black walnut hulls she picked up from under the trees in her yard. The hulls are bright green and leathery, kind of like hard tennis balls. Dee Dee puts a walnut on a plank, smashes it with a hammer, and separates the hull from the nut.
See, this one has a lot of little white worms, but they don't hurt your dye, so I just throw them in there.
She drops the hull into a bucket and throws the rest of the walnut over her shoulder into the yard.
And let the squirrels have them.
Later, Dee Dee will lay the hulls on cardboard to dry out in the sun. Then she will boil them to make a deep reddish-brown dye. It doesn't always come out the way she expects. She shows me some dull grayish yarn that's hanging inside the house.
These are experiments that aren't quite working the way we wish they would.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why? What were you going for?
Purple.
And this just serves as a reminder that natural dyeing is not an exact science, even if you're an expert like Dee Dee. All sorts of things can change the way your dye colors come out, from the type of pot you use to where you get your water. A lot of the plants that Dee Dee uses for her dyes grow on her land, but sometimes she has to look elsewhere for the plants she needs, like the highway median.
If I'm going to go on some land that doesn't belong to me to pick dye weeds, I try to get permission from the people that own it.
She tells me about a time when she decided to pick some broom sedge, which makes a nice yellow dye. The grassy plant was growing on a vacant lot near Black Mountain.
The lot was covered. It was a pretty good-sized lot, and it was covered. I didn't think you'd miss it.
But the owner came by and asked her what she was doing.
And I explained to him that I was getting these weeds, and I was going to make dye out of them.
He wasn't upset. In fact, he asked her for advice on how he could grow grass on the lot to hold down the dirt.
And I said, you don't need to do that. I said, you've got nature has put here on this lot the very best plant to hold this soil. These broom sedge plants have the deepest roots of any plant around.
Dee Dee worked out a deal with him to leave the broom sedge alone until she could harvest it in the fall.
I said, look, if you will not mow it until like November every year, I'll dye some wool and make you a hat.
And she did.
So I made him a hat that was dyed with the broom sedge from his land. He thought that was great.
Dee Dee's interest in protecting local plants goes far beyond her need for dye weeds. She wants people to recognize the important role that these plants play in the ecosystem. And one way she spreads the word is by giving natural dye demonstrations across western North Carolina. It's Heritage Day at the Folk Arts Center off the Blue Ridge Parkway near Asheville. There are dozens of artists demonstrating traditional Appalachian crafts, and Dee Dee's tent is right next to the music stage. She's got about 50 skeins of beautifully colored yarn spread out on a table and hanging from a line inside her tent.
See, this is white fall asters. I can make yellow or olive green or that olive mossy gray color there. This is goldenrod, makes yellow or olive green. This broom
Off to the side, a big iron pot sits on a propane burner, and every so often, Dee Dee walks over to the pot and stirs the dark liquid inside.
The brown that I'm doing today, I made with sumac. And see, here's some. And then here's how they look after I cooked them. See, I cooked them.
A few younger-looking folks drift her way.
Here's walnut hulls. Anything off the black walnut tree, the leaves.
They are graduate students studying landscape architecture at the University of Tennessee.
Queen Anne's lace and mullein. And
I watch as more and more students come and surround Dee Dee as she talks, and they have questions for her.
So are you worried about, like, any time in the near future not being able to find what you're looking for?
I am. I'm lucky because I have a big field in front of my house where I can grow a lot of the stuff. But I'm even more worried about the insects. And everybody that eats food should care about pollinators.
Absolutely.
And so as often as you can in your designs, plant things, native things that can support the pollinators. We have to change. Now that there's so many of us, we have to change how we look at the world, or we're doomed.
And there it is. Dee Dee's not-so-secret mission to save the planet by getting people interested in local plants and weeds. But Dee Dee has been the dye lady for a long time. She's been hauling iron pots and giving outdoor demonstrations for 24 years.
I've been out there in the rain and the snow and the thunderstorms and the lightning and everything.
And she's getting a little tired. So back at her house in Swannanoa, Dee Dee tells me about her plan. Dee Dee got a grant to mentor a younger artist and teach her what she knows about the craft of natural dyeing, to continue her work and her mission.
I think the most important thing, not that all the people that see me are going to be dyers, but what I really hope they take from it is an appreciation of the natural world. That what they thought was a weed can actually do this thing, this beautiful thing, and make them more aware as they move around in their day of what they see on the side of the road.
For Inside Appalachia, this is Rebecca Williams in Swannanoa, North Carolina.
That story is also part of our Folkways reporting project. To see photos of Dee Dee Stiles' naturally dyed fabrics and the weeds used to dye them, visit our website, wvpublic.org. Certain kinds of invasive bamboo, like golden or fishbowl bamboo, can be a nuisance. If it gets on your property, you might find yourself spending a lot of time trying to keep it from taking over. But there are more than 1,400 different plants in the bamboo family, ranging from tiny, scrub-like plants only a few inches tall to others that top out around 130 feet. North America has a native species of bamboo, too. It was once commonly found in Appalachia near rivers and streams, but was nearly wiped out. In 2024, Radio IQ's Roxy Todd reported on efforts to restore the plant in southwestern Virginia.
It's hard to imagine someone more enthusiastic for a plant than Laura Young is about river cane.
We are looking at baby river cane plants. Little scraggly things, but they have a lot of charisma.
Young works with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. We're standing beside her truck, and in the bed are 4 little plants growing in sandwich bags. They're humble little things, little more than stalks of grass. They look a little like bamboo plants.
River cane is really amazing for stabilizing stream banks.
Young says this plant helps prevent erosion and can withstand floods. It can also prevent the spread of invasive plants. As babies, river cane are a few inches tall, but eventually they could grow to 30 feet. River cane is grown commercially, but the plants are difficult to find and fairly expensive. In 2021, Young and 10 volunteers started growing river cane in sandwich bags, using roots from an existing strand in Lee County. They nursed the plants on their porches. After the plants were big enough, they transplanted them along the Powell River.
We saw that this needed to come back since it exists in so small of an area of its native range, and it does so many amazing things.
River cane used to grow along just about every river and stream bed in the eastern and central United States. Many indigenous people used river cane to make baskets and weapons, and they helped maintain the plant. But with more development along riverbanks, river cane began to disappear.
You know, the river's really beautiful. We like to look at it, so we clear off the vegetation so you can see it.
Cows also like to eat it, which is another reason it faded from the landscape.
Apparently it's really delicious. So cows have come through and really just mowed that down.
There's even a traditional fiddle song called Cattle in the Cane. Young says this plant plays an important role for several animal species.
It's great for habitat for migratory songbirds, and then there's also a lot of rare moths that we track that this is a specific host plant for. So this is the only thing that those moths can eat. If this plant is not there, the moths are not there.
The first year Young and her small army of volunteers grew river cane, the results were better than she'd hoped for. And it doesn't take a lot of technical expertise to grow these plants.
Like, this is something that a 6th grade class could do.
Young began recruiting more volunteers and scaled up, planting more river cane. Local colleges and universities also pitched in to help grow the young plants until they're ready to be transplanted.
It was absolutely amazing, and I feel like the community's really excited about this because it's so important and you can see it working.
Young says the strand they started in 2021 is thriving.
It's beautiful, and it's doing really, really well, and it doesn't need our help anymore.
This year, they started 1,000 river cane plants and added new sites along the Clinch River in St. Paul. The plants are just off a walking trail, so people can see them easily. Young says she hopes they can eventually expand into other watersheds across Southwest Virginia to help river cane return to the landscape. In St. Paul, I'm Roxy Todd.
To make pottery, one needs clay. Most professional and hobby potters rely on store-bought clay for their projects, but not everybody. In western North Carolina, some folks prefer to work with wild clay. That is, clay that's dug right out of the ground. They say using this traditional material gives their pieces particular character. Anya Patron-Slepian from the Rural Remix podcast has this story.
Outside, surrounded by mountains, Naomi Dalglish and Michael Hunt are processing wild clay. Michael has a 4-foot-long hand drill and a giant metal drum. He's mixing water with clay dirt to make a slip. The yellowish clay dirt they're using came from a nearby farmer's field. The first step in making the clay usable in their pottery production is mixing this slip, a watery clay slurry. Once the slip is the desired consistency, Naomi says it's time to strain out debris using a screen.
We actually have a couple of different sizes of screens because at this point we're deciding how much of the coarse material, like little bits of sand and small pebbles, we want to leave in the clay.
She pours the slip through a mesh screen that's fitted into a wooden frame.
We really enjoy having like a clay that has some texture to it. So this is in a lot of ways like one of the first aesthetic decisions that we're making.
Naomi and Michael are the team behind Bandana Pottery. They primarily make functional ceramics, like cups, bowls, trays, and vases, as well as some decorative items like large jars and sculptures. Michael says local traditions inspired them to start processing their own clay.
It kind of started from sort of seeing historical pots and seeing how a kind of a complexity and depth to the materials that we were really after. North Carolina has this amazing tradition of people using local clay that was kind of continuous.
Back outside, the slip is finished straining and is now in a large metal tub. Naomi opens a bag of feldspar and pours the white powder into the clay slurry as Michael continues to mix with the drill. The mineral lowers the firing temperature of the clay. Next, Naomi and Michael pump the mixture into wooden racks lined with fabric. For this, they use a large brown hose pipe. The mixture is left in the racks to dry. Naomi says it takes between 1 and 4 weeks for the clay to get to a working consistency.
It really depends on the weather, how long that process is going to take.
For most of human history, potters have been restricted to the types of clays available in the ground where they live. Each geography produces clay with different characteristics, and this has informed how each culture's pottery traditions have developed. North Carolina is known for its plentiful natural clay deposits. For 3,000 years, Cherokee potters have used local clays to create intricate and functional pots that are hand-coiled, paddled, and stamped. Later, European settlers and their descendants began making wheel-thrown pieces and created the iconic North Carolina ash glaze style. Digging and processing clay is a lot more labor-intensive than a trip to a clay supplier, but Naomi and Michael say it's well worth the effort for a lot of reasons. Part of it has to do with aesthetics.
It's kind of really about the expressive possibilities of particle size. We're playing with having the materials be fine enough to make functional pottery, but way coarser than like commercial materials.
Naomi and Michael say digging their own clay is also more environmentally sustainable than using commercial clays. It cuts down on transportation, and they're using a material that's otherwise a nuisance for local farmers.
It's like the sticky stuff that gets stuck on the bottom of their tractor wheels, or in like a field, it's where the water isn't draining as well. So it can actually cause some issues. So people are like, oh yeah, we know where that is, and are actually usually not too upset to let some of it go.
Processing clay is also cheaper than buying pre-mixed clays. But most importantly, they say that using local clays has been a constant source of creative inspiration.
The clay is like a collaborator. It has its limitations, but also possibilities. And we're constantly thinking like, oh, what do we want to do with the clay? But like, what does this clay want to do if it can't work in the way that maybe we're accustomed to working?
Inside the studio, Naomi is slapping a mound of clay to get it roughly centered on a pottery wheel.
This is a method that we use for making lots of bowls and cups. It's called throwing off the hump.
The wheel is surrounded by a wooden bench. Unlike electric wheels, this one is human-powered. She spins it by using her right foot to kick a second wheel near the ground. Naomi has around 12 pounds of clay piled high in a cone, which she begins to shape as she spins the wheel.
Every clay has its own character and limitations that sort of guide your practice. And then it's always sort of this dance, too, between how much do you want to take a clay that has its natural limitations and change it into something that could do more things, and how much do you want to just sort of explore what is this clay really good at doing.
Digging and processing wild clay also builds and depends on community connections. When Michael and Naomi first began experimenting with wild clays, they were supported by teachers at the nearby Penland School of Craft and other local potters. Since then, they've mentored many apprentices of their own.
I almost kind of forget that there were our apprentices. Now they're just like our pottery pals. We kind of are just sharing information a lot.
This sharing of information has helped develop a community of potters in the region who are interested in using local materials.
The pottery community in general tends to be like pretty open with knowledge that they have. We tend to get pretty excited and just geek out about it with our friends and share a lot of information.
But the community connection forged by local clays goes beyond just the potters themselves.
One of the facets of using local clay that wasn't intentional as a reason to do it, but that has been sort of almost a really wonderful side effect is like our connection to both the place and the people where we live.
Naomi recalls one time when a former neighbor was preparing his field for spring planting. He came upon some clay and decided to bring a tractor load of it down to the pottery studio.
We were so touched that he thought to do that, but we were also kind of like, so, what part of the field did you get in? We just wanted to make sure it was the right stuff. And he looked at us in sort of mock indignation and was like, I'm a farmer. You think I don't know my own dirt? And so that's kind of one of the times that we realized that we all just really have the same mutual relationship and respect for the same material. It was just sort of through different avenues. And he's someone to this day that we really value our relationship with.
Back at the pottery wheel, Naomi finishes throwing her set of bowls. Once they dry, she and Michael will turn them upside down to trim a foot, revealing the rough texture of the clay that inspires them so much as artists. The bowls are the ultimate collaboration, the result of Naomi and Michael's partnership, the generosity of a local farmer, and of course, the character and contributions of the clay itself.
That was Anya Patron-Slepian reporting for the Rural Remix podcast. Till next time, thanks for joining us as we journey throughout Appalachia. Our theme music is by Matt Jackford. Other music this week was provided by Blue Dot Sessions, Hello June, and Harvey and Copeland. Bill Lynch is our producer. Abby Neff is our associate producer. Our executive producer is Eric Douglas. Irina Zhorov is our editor. Our audio mixer is Patrick Stevens. We had help this week from Folkways editor Nicole Musgrave. You can find us on Instagram @InAppalachia. You can also send us an email to insideappalachia@wvpublic.org. Visit wvpublic.org/InsideAppalachia to subscribe to our newsletter and stream all of our stories. Or look for Inside Appalachia on your favorite podcast app. Inside Appalachia is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting.